missed this. Wow, remember we could just make a waveform?
Yeah.
Oh my
How long has it been?
Years.
It's been years, right?
11 days, 12 days.
12 days. All right, let's get it clapping up.
Let's get it clapping. Clap at 30. 30.
Okay.
Wow, one of my notes when I was going into France was, wow, flying is actually super easy and not at all stressful. I almost forgot to clap, but I did clap.
It's not stressful once you're on the plane.
No, totally.
Or once you're through security.
Yeah.
Then all my stress goes away.
But even when we were going in, security wasn't like when we were going in. I checked ahead of time. I did check in to make sure we had seats and to make sure our passport stuff was all done. So that did save us a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But then it was like, all right, go through security. You obviously don't have to go through customs when you're going in somewhere. So we found our gate and then we were done. It's like, we got here 2 hours early. We got done in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Magellan, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Hi, welcome to ChatzNightz, everyone.
Hey, welcome. By the way, I refuse to turn my air conditioner off because it is hot as heck.
It is hot as the surface of the sun. Well, there'll still be plenty of me talking, so there'll be plenty of dead air for me to pull and noise reduce on your end.
Okay, awesome.
It's all so good on the pontoon, Magellan.
I'm so glad we're on the pontoon. You had a question for me?
Yeah, what do you consider a good life? What's a well-spent life? And I mean on a day-to-day basis, not in like an overall sense.
You mean on a day-to-day basis?
So I'm trying to think of how to word this exactly. Basically,
at the end of the day,
that was a day well spent.
So we've talked on a previous ChatzNightz about your ideal day.
Certainly.
Map out your ideal day. I think a day well spent is, for me, I did one of a couple things.
Okay.
Perhaps I completed something that was difficult.
Okay.
So a project, or planned a big unit plan or something, or whatever, or recorded a bunch of podcasts, something like that. I have an artifact of I did hard work today.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing. Or experiencing something that was really impactful. So read a book or saw a movie or went to a show that made me think in a new way. Or if I go somewhere new, or do something I haven't done before, or if I just spend meaningful quality time with someone who I care about. And whether that's we're doing nothing, or we have a really cool conversation, or we just form some kind of meaningful memory. One of those things.
So you do like collecting experiences then?
Certainly, yes.
It's one of the things that you consider a life well lived.
Yeah, I think a life well lived is one that you remember a lot of because you did a lot of things worth remembering.
There you go. Yeah, that was one of the questions that I went into thinking a lot about in my trip to France.
Uh-huh.
Which is what we're going to be talking about this week. It was inspired by a question that they got on Waypoint Radio because they were asked because in the new game Fire Emblem Three Houses, which we talked about on a Chats episode recently, you can have tea with your students. You can do tea time to increase bonds with them.
Okay.
And during the way tea time works mechanically is you pick their tea, and if it's their favorite tea, they like it. If it's not, then they drink it regardless, but you don't get bonus points. And then it says oh, they want to talk, and you hit the talk button, and then you have 3 dialogue options of what they want to talk about, and you have to guess what they would find interesting. And so, but they're just a couple of words. So it'll be a cute boy in the schoolyard, or what do you think about our teamwork lately, or battle strategies. Those are just it'll just say battle strategies, and it's do you think that this person wants to talk about battle strategies? Yeah. And so you're kind of it kind of puts you in a really cool psychological space where you're how well do I know this person, and what do they want to be told, and what do they want to hear from me as their professor? Mm-hmm. And so they were asked on Waypoint Radio what would be your tea, and what would be the best conversation you can have over tea, what would be your ideal tea time conversation.
Yeah.
And Rob, one of the co-hosts, was saying that he would never get tired. And I'm misquoting this because it's like 2 weeks old at this point, but he was like, I would never get tired of talking about with people like what is their like well spent life, like what is a day or a week or like a activity or a job that they would find like worthy of their time and want to do. Because it's like infinitely interesting to ask people like, why do you work the job you do, and like, do you work to live, do you live to work, that kind of stuff. So again, that stuff was kind of twirling around in my head a lot in this trip, which was a lovely trip. I'll start by saying that it was really relaxing. It was very eye-opening because Europe is so different from the United States, but also very similar, you know? You had talked when you went to South Korea about how it feels like you're in a different dimension sometimes, but then at the same time you're like, oh, wait, no, this is just like us, but a slightly askew version of it, or like they have different values or different
like
priorities.
Sometimes you can understand the divergence, and you can look back and see the point of divergence, and sometimes things have diverged to the extent that you feel like you're on parallel lines.
Yeah, exactly. Because I had a lot, like I would say almost maybe 40% of this trip was like conversations with my aunt and uncle, who are really cool. Because both of them moved from Syria to France in the early 90s.
Okay.
And like got married beforehand.
Is that around when your parents moved to the United States?
Correct. Slightly after. My parents were in the States in like 90. And then my uncle was here in like 92, went to France. Their like relationship history is fascinating. I don't need to get into it, but like the fact that they're together is amazing too. They were like not together for a while, and then they were, and then they weren't again.
Your aunt and uncle?
Yeah. But they're really interesting people. And my aunt in particular is very like pro Europe, and in her head not like anti-America, but just like deeply frustrated and confused by the differences and the discrepancies.
Yeah, like anything different, America's doing it wrong and Europe's doing it right.
Yes, and it's like initially the conversation was like, wow, maybe Europe is doing it right, and then like the rational part of my brain was like, not necessarily, like, no, of course not. Like, what we need to remember is, you know, my uncle's a doctor, he has 3 kids, and he lives in a nice part of France. Like, he's of good means, and his wife is also employed and like gainfully employed and makes good money. So like, you know, they are of a certain class where certain problems, societal problems, are not as
like visible to them, or
totally
don't impact their life as much. Sure.
So one of the main differences, one of the first ones that was really striking to me, was they were talking about how in their opinion, people in the States work to work more, to accrue money, to then continue to work, to then work more so that you can make a job that makes more money. It's just a self-feeding cycle, which is like not entirely wrong.
Right.
You know, and like you and I can talk, everyone can talk about like, no, I don't just work to work. Like I work to better myself and I work to this, but like, you know, we're in our mid-20s now. And like, I know a lot of people who are working and starting to climb the corporate ladder and seem really deeply comfortable with it. And are like, yes, I would love to continue to work until I become a CEO, and then I can sit on my laurels and be rich. Like, totally, 100%. Some of my best friends think like that. And it's like, I personally don't feel like that right now. And I'm in a weird spot, too, because of my work situation and my life situation. I just don't feel like I'm going to do that. I'm not going to, like, climb a ladder and make millions. I don't think I need to. I don't want to. You know, I don't think money would fix the problems in life that I've noticed that I want to fix, you know, in my time here. So that was their main thing, that they're like, why is it like that? And then my question was like, okay, so then what is it here? Like, what do you guys work for? And so in Europe, at least the way I understand it, is like vacations are mandated. Like you will get, I think, like several weeks of vacation time in a year if you're employed in Europe.
Okay.
Which is why people vacation so much, and like why people, you know, backpack around Europe and take trains around Europe, is because they have to. From like college, they're doing that stuff. So they have it already baked in. Like, you will be able to do this. You do not have to earn this and then use it once and be like, okay, I finally like rent blood from the stone, and now I can take a vacation. It's like, no, you're gonna get one.
Yeah.
What do you do with it? Where do you go? How do you spend that? Because when I asked my uncle that question of like, what do you work for? Like, what's time well spent? He was like, I don't like to buy things. I don't want to use money to like have more things. I just want to see more things because he really likes traveling.
Mm.
So he was like, I want to use it to just see as much of the world as I can in my time left, which is like fascinating, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I can kind of see that as a very valid like means of living your life. And then there's also just questions of like, why is the school system in America different from Europe, and why is the economy different, and your politics are completely different, and you treat your poor differently, and your class systems are different. Like all of this stuff was discussed, and I had to keep reminding myself like these are like pretty well off people. Like they're not going to talk about the fact that like disabled people in the United Kingdom like don't get literally any support anymore, and they're trying to take even more away from them. Like
Right.
they don't know about that. They're not going to talk about that. And so like I have to take all this with a grain of salt, but I'm definitely getting this like really pristine picture of like Europe's got it figured out. They're like super progressive here. Their streets are cleaner because they like, again, the way my aunt phrases it is like, the United States has like ruined the earth enough that the rest of the world has to like pick up the pieces, like greenhouse gas wise, which is like, okay, I mean, we're working on it too. We're not there yet. It's great that you guys are there, but like, it's not your responsibility to fix it. It's all of our responsibility to fix it. But they really like the streets are very clean. There is like good responsibility for people to clean and like take care of themselves. Tourists are treated well. Everybody speaks English. Like there's enough generally understood language, which is mostly good, except for the part where like strangers don't talk to each other, like ever. And if they do, it's in French. Like if they do, it's in French, and they have a feeling like they heard each other speak it and they know, and it's no hesitation. But it's very, very, very unlikely that you'll just talk to a stranger who isn't saying anything and like try to start a conversation, because there is so much tourism that you have no idea if the white person in front of you is like French European or United Kingdom European or an American tourist or German. Exactly. So there's this like kind of line that is drawn that you don't see in a lot of the United States of like, I'm not going to talk to you unless I know I can. And then I'm fine talking to you.
Yeah.
Because of the lack of like a single language. Otherwise, it does feel like because of the position of like where my family there is at, it feels like, oh man, everyone here is like so cooperative and nice, but I can't speak to how that is in reality on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are places in the United States that feel that way.
Certainly. I mean, the first time I went to New York, I was like, hey, people are allowed to like be like gay and out and like in public. Like, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
The closest I got though was actually one of the nights, and I'll go down like what I did each day in a bit, but one of the nights one of my cousins, because my uncle has 3 daughters. The oldest one has a bunch of friends from high school who are all guys. Because like, as it was explained to me, the relationship between men and women is a little bit different in Europe as well. It's like was very frowned upon to like stare at a woman in the streets, and people will like be more defensive if something like that happens. So like guys kind of defer to women in a lot of these like cultural contexts, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
But she has a bunch of these guy friends, and they're all students, and they're all like a little bit younger than us. And so for them, I was like, what is the economy like for you? Like, what is it? You're in college. Like, and they were like, yeah, it's as stressful as it is there. Like, they're supported more. Their country pays for a lot of them to go to school. So they don't have to worry that much about that part. But it's like, if you want to work anywhere else, you're basically shit out of luck. If you want to work in the United States, getting a visa, getting sponsored, huge pain in the ass.
Yeah.
A lot of times places just won't hire you.
I bet.
One of them was saying that he's working in engineering for like he builds boats, or like is studying to be an architect specifically for like naval architecture. And I was like, that is so fascinating that you're 20 and you already know that you're majoring in like naval architecture, and that's like, how did you even land on that? So there was that stuff that was really interesting, and it's nice talking to young people too, because they all are very like comfortable talking about sort of more personal issues, I guess, is what I mean.
Right.
But yeah, so there was a lot of that kind of stuff. And the other cool thing about going there is just you forget sometimes how relatively new America is. Like,
right. That was the feeling I had when I went to Italy.
Right? You see this old architecture and you're like, oh, this is almost 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
this is like from the time of the Bible.
Yeah, that's what struck me about when I was in Rome, especially, is there, and the way that there's this great quote uh, by Rilke. I think I read it on the podcast, maybe, or something.
You've read a Rilke quote on the podcast before.
Yeah, where he talks about Rome and how it has this sort of like museum-like air to it in the streets. Because it's just, you can, I'm sure that it's this way in France. Did you go to Paris? You're going to talk about that?
I did not go to Paris.
Okay. Did you go to a city?
Yes, I went to Lyon and I went to Annecy.
Okay. So I'm sure it's like this in those cities where, like, walking around the street, you'll be like, oh my gosh, there's something from the 1800s. There's something from, like, year zero. There's something. And it's, you know, in the United States, I don't think there's really a place where you can see history to that extent. I think if you're walking around New York, like if you're walking around Manhattan, sometimes you can see things from like the 1890s, or you can see architecture from like the 50s or something. But you're not going to go back much further than that.
Exactly. You will see a couple centuries worth of stuff stacked on top of each other, but over there it's like you're seeing several centuries in tandem, and this is all into like combined into what's now a modern city. Like taking a tram through Lyon feels like you're like stepping on sacred territory or something, because you're going from 1,000-year-old church to another in like a modern train, and you're like, wait, this is so interesting. Speaking of traveling, one of the other like European stereotypes I had always heard is that they're a lot of them are just, they're like thinner than we are, because like America is like has like the highest population of overweight people in the world, and that is definitely accurate from my experience. Like definitely, most people that I walked by are in very good shape.
That's how I felt in Korea also.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What does that due to? I mean, there's stuff like there are bike lanes everywhere. There are walking lanes on the street. Everyone walks in bikes everywhere. Their diet and like eating
you
structure
said
is
that the
different.
portions are smaller there, right?
Correct. From what I saw, like there's stuff like we have the idea of a doggy bag here. They wouldn't even consider giving you a doggy bag in somewhere like Lyon, because they're like, we gave you enough food to finish here. Like, we're not going to give you a lot. Why would we give you a lot of food when you could just be satisfied with the food that you're going to get? And then if you come to America, like you come here and you go to IHOP and you get like a whole, like a breakfast meal, you don't finish half of it. You're like, oh, I'll take this and have breakfast tomorrow. And I kind of like that. You can go to places that are called like takeaway places in Europe. But if I go to like a nice restaurant, there is no way to ask to, like, it's not, you probably could, like you could ask, but nobody's asking to take food home. You finish your food, and it is smaller portions, which took me some adjusting. I ended up losing like a decent amount of weight despite not trying to, just because I was like eating what was put in front of me and nothing more. Even in the week that I was there, I lost a couple of pounds.
That's cool.
But yeah, the other thing is that the way that like the meal order is a little different, because they do it when I went to Syria back in like over a decade ago. They did it similarly, where they'll have an early breakfast and they'll have a very small breakfast. So like literally I would have a piece of like hard, like a toast that's basically like a biscuit, like the size of a biscuit.
Yeah,
put a little
that's
bit
how they do it in Italy also.
In Italy, exactly, right? Where they do like some jam and cheese on that. You have like one or two of those. You have a single really strong cup of coffee, and that's it. That's breakfast.
Right.
And they don't do takeout coffee either. Like you can get it. There are places that are like trendy that do it, but most places don't, like, because you sit down and drink coffee. You go to a place, you sit down, which I like. I think that's also really cool. But sometimes I'm like, I need to go somewhere. Which is hilarious, because my aunt was also like, what's with America's obsession with constantly needing to get somewhere as fast as possible? Because we have so much like infrastructure for like travel and like doing things on the go and on the run. And she's like, why? Like, what is the benefit of it? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I understand. Like, I like the merit. I see the merit in taking your time with things.
Yeah.
But so they'll do like a small breakfast in the morning, which I would miss sometimes. They'd be like, oh, it's already like past, because I would sleep in most days, because they're like, you don't need to get up that early. And then we would just be on to lunch, which would be like a full meal. Like everyone sits down and it's like, it's lunchtime. It's dinner sized.
Mm.
It's like we're having chicken at 2:00 in the afternoon, and it was like bananas. I'm like, wait, what? What happens if I get hungry later? And then I would forget, and we would go about and do our shit, and then we'd come home at like 9 or 10, and they'd be like, now we have our last meal of the day, and it's like slightly smaller than lunch, but it's still like a filling, protein-rich meal.
Yeah.
So that is different. I don't know what that does digestively, eating that late, but
Yeah.
it
Well, it
definitely
messes with you if you eat like a huge meal that late. Like it messes with your sleep.
for sure. So they usually didn't do big meals. It would just be like, we'll have like shrimp salad, like get a little protein in you, get some greens, and then call it a night. That's your food.
Yeah. Right.
And then they would like serve dessert instantly afterwards. Like while you're eating your last meal, you're also like dessert's already coming out, and dessert's like fruit. You know, they don't eat as much meat there either. They just don't eat a lot of meat.
That's good.
Yeah, you were talking about
Yeah.
like going green for like one meal a day, and if you go to Europe, that's like entirely easy to the point where when we on one of our last days, we were walking around Grenoble, which is in southern France, and that's where we like were staying. And my uncle was like, "Oh, this place over here, they specialize in meat." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "This place serves meat," and I'm like, "What? Why doesn't everywhere like? Isn't that just that's like the default food?" And he's like, "No, like most places don't just serve meat. You have to ask for it. This is like the meat place." I was like, "Oh my god, where do you get your protein?" They do like cheese. They really like cheese. I like cheese. I eat a lot of cheese there. It's good. Some of it's not good. Not to me. Like I just there's like sharp, and then there is. I feel like I'm eating pepper. There was literally a cheese I ate where I was like, I feel like I'm chomping into a block of pepper. They eat cheese with everything. God, it's so much fucking cheese. And most of it's amazing, but that's entirely true.
What was the best thing that you ate there? It was your favorite meal.
Roast duck.
Ooh.
Yeah, when we were in Lyon, I was like, I need meat. We've been walking all day, and it was like the only meat on the menu, and I was like, I don't think I've had duck before, and it was very good.
How would you compare duck to chicken?
It's a little more tender.
Okay.
At least the way it was served. They didn't ask me how I wanted it, which is, I mean, you don't usually. I don't know if you ask for duck.
I don't think birds. Yeah.
They just make it. It was definitely a little bit more tender, and the good part is it's the sauce that makes the flavor of duck. Like I didn't have like duck with nothing. It was like duck with like bathed in sauce. And my aunt was like, "Oh, I don't really like the I don't really like the sauce," and I was like ready to drink the sauce by itself. It was fucking delicious. It's like apple-y kind of.
Okay.
And like sweet. Oh, it's very good. Sweet meats, dude, is the secret. So yeah, that was probably my favorite. That was probably my favorite meal. We actually ate at home a lot. We didn't eat out too often.
Sure.
So it wasn't until the last day that I was like, wait, we didn't have a croissant. And then my aunt was like, I got you, fam, and bought us croissants for the morning. And they were good. Like, they do them right. We do them right. That's not that hard to make a good croissant.
Yeah, that's just bread, bro.
Pretty much. Speaking of bread, they buy
By
bread.
the way, it's pouring rain outside. That's what you're hearing if you're hearing it in the background of my audio.
Chill rain, 24/7 chill rain beats to rap to study to.
It keeps happening. I don't know if this is part of climate change or what, but it keeps pouring rain here.
And does it like pour for a few minutes and then stop like it does here?
Yeah.
Love it. I love it.
So you got bread? Bread was good?
They get bread. They get fresh bread every single day.
Your
so they'll
aunt
buy
and
like
uncle?
Yeah, they will buy like 1 or 2 baguettes in the afternoon and use those for dinner and then finish them and then buy a new one the next day.
Oh, there's
which is
the
like,
thunder.
Whoa, lightning and thunder.
They eat that much bread?
A baguette's not that big.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's like
Yeah, I
they
guess
do
you're
eat a lot of. They definitely eat a lot of bread, and they have 3
But a
daughters.
baguette, I mean, that's bigger than a loaf.
But it's thin.
Yeah, all right.
They definitely we ran through.
But what
a
do they
baguette
do?
or two.
It's just loose bread. They just dip it.
Well,
What do
yeah,
do
you
with
use
that
it. You
baguette?
can like open it and use it to hold meat and like sauces and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's very versatile actually. It's good. I mean, it wasn't like, again, bread. I'm not like a bread connoisseur, but we had a bunch of different breads. There was one with not kale, but other thing that people like. That was
Spinach.
no. It's from I think it's from South America.
Chives.
No, you're getting close.
Chocolate.
Yes, I did have chocolate bread, but What's the spice that people that like white people love? Not spice, but like
Cardamom. Thyme.
No.
Ginseng.
No.
Um,
It's like a thing. They're small little bulbs.
Small little bulbs.
Like tiny, like they're green.
Artichoke?
No. It's small, like teensy, like pea sized. What am I thinking of?
I have no.
They had
Rosemary?
those. No.
I could go for some rosemary bread right now, though.
You wanna? Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
God, if we went to college together, I would.
Yeah, we'd be eating rosemary bread in lecture.
In class.
The professor would be like, "Hey, toss me that. Let me eat that while I talk about organizational systems," because we'd both be business majors.
Of course we would. Absolutely. Yeah. Finally, we picked the right major.
Yeah, if we had influenced each other at close range, we would have become entrepreneurs.
Neither of us would have any monetary issues right now.
Yeah, we'd be rich. We'd be in France right now.
Eating rosemary bread in lecture.
Yeah, in grad school. That's my French accent.
I didn't learn enough French. I wish I learned more French.
Give us some French. Let's hear it.
Merci.
Okay, everyone knows that one. Give us something people don't know.
Darion.
What does that mean?
You're welcome.
Wait, say it again.
Darion.
Oh.
Yeah, you're welcome. People don't say that a lot because people don't say you're welcome a lot. You just say thank you and then you move on.
Merci.
Darion, you know. I tried to go to store. I tried my best in this trip to be as independent as possible. Like I went to a mall. We went to a mall and I like walked around by myself and I was like, I'll fucking grok it. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And if you go to a store, they just, again, this is one of the things where I bet you they just know that people might not understand the language. So you buy something, the register tells you how much to pay. You put the money in their hand and they give you the change back. It's like you don't have to know anything. You don't have to say anything. You say bonjour and then you get it.
It's useful.
Right. So you can be transactional or transactions translate across borders. You don't need to know anything to do that. And then when I was in Lyon, I bought a travel book that's like, here's some cool things to do in Lyon because I wanted to have a book.
Yeah.
And I bought it, and the woman told me how much it cost, but she said, like, it costs X euros in French, and I didn't understand what she was saying. So I looked at her blank face for a second. She didn't have, like, a register. And then she was like, in English, it costs blank euros. And I was like, fuck, I've already been caught. And then she was like, un sac? And I was like, what? And she's like, do you want a bag? And I was like, damn, that one's easy. Why did I get this wrong? I'm a fool. So I felt like a tourist, but again, everyone's chill there. No one like gives you shit for it. But I was like, I really want to. Like, I'm gonna be here. I should learn some of the language and at least like not get called out every time I go anywhere. But alas, French is fascinating because the youngest of the three cousins, she's 17, and she understands English and Arabic. I only spoke in English and Arabic the entire trip. And like a tiny bits of French, but she doesn't speak them. She only ever speaks French. Like she can speak them, but chooses not to. I guess she's like shy about speaking a non-native language. I get that. So we would be talking, and then she would like yell something at her dad, like really excitedly, and it would sound like she was like berating him. And then they're like, "Oh no, she was just telling a hilarious joke. She's just 17 and she talks fast." And I'm like, "Don't know how." Like, so it took me a while to learn how tone works in French, but. I see. You pick up on it. Even if you don't know a single word of it, you can kind of tell like this person is arguing something or this person's agreeing about something. Yeah. So yeah, French is an interesting language, and it's honestly not. It doesn't seem like it's that hard. It's just that there's a lot of words, and when you listen to it, they smush words together.
Yeah. They kind of.
Yeah, it sounds very fluid. That was more of a Stallone that you did there?
Yeah, it was definitely a Stallone. it was a Pianta from Super Mario Sunshine.
Yeah, I just saw a bunch of people with Pianta plants running around France. It was pretty wild.
That's awesome.
Ask me more things about France that I can answer.
Well, tell me about these excursions that you went on.
Sure.
You said you took notes. What are some of the
Okay.
some of the moments?
So we arrived on Sunday. That I was like, oh my god, this house is so big, and my uncle and I like picked figs. He has a gigantic fig tree in his backyard.
Oh wow, that's
bro,
cool.
I love figs. We used to have figs in Syria like all the time because my grandparents had a fig tree. Figs are amazing. Like just some fresh figs, incredible, very sweet.
Now you're making me wonder if I've ever had a fig. Isn't a fig just a dry plum?
No,
Oh, that's a prune.
correct.
I've had prunes. I don't think I've had a fig.
You should have a fig, dude. You can get dry figs at the supermarket for cheap. Those will usually be healthier but less sweet. If you get a fresh fig, it'll be much sweeter, but it's like high in sugar. So you're not supposed to eat a lot of fig. And if you eat them warm, like freshly picked, it's not good for your stomach. Those are the rules with figs. But so we picked some figs. He has so many fucking figs growing on his tree that he started just giving them out to his neighbors.
That's cute.
He's like, we can't like get rid of it. But we like made some of it into jelly or into jam. We eat a lot of it with it like dessert, and then we give the rest away. I'm like, damn, that's a fucking bountiful harvest. Because they're in the mountains. We're like, to describe the scene, it's kind of like an old village in like aesthetic of like the streets and the houses, but all the houses are really nice, and you're surrounded by the Alps.
Wow.
So there are mountains in every corner.
Where does he work?
He works in Grenoble, and like they're in the town of it. And then if you go like a little bit down, like 5-10 minutes downtown, you're in the city, and he works in like the major hospital there.
Okay. So you're kind of like up the hill from the city.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Precisamente.
How big is that city? Like, give me an American city to compare it to.
Probably like Indianapolis. Like it's not huge, but it's developed, and it's like there's people could live here.
Okay.
When we in the like the second to last day or whatever explored by foot, I saw most of it in that couple hours, like 2 or 3 hours.
Gotcha.
So it's like, but it had everything. It like had a movie theater, it had an amazing mall, it had like food from every country in the area. It was like, you know, they got all the check marks. Sorry, someone's yelling in the background. I think it sounds like they're telling a story where someone was yelling though. You know, you can like tell. They have a nice pool, so he swam. What's cool is that they have like lights in the pool. So there was like a couple nights where he would make this. No, it's not tea. I learned that there's a difference between tea and an infusion, which like an infusion is like when you just grind like an herb, and then pour like water through it and filter it through the water. So we would make this infusion with like herbs that he grew in his backyard, and we would drink that, like get a like piping hot cup of that, put it next to the pool, and like do laps, and then after every lap you take a sip of this tea, and it's like 10 o'clock at night and we're doing this. It's like, this is awesome.
That's cool.
Tea and swimming, amazing combination, or whatever, hot drink.
Yeah, I bet.
I loved it, and he's got like lights in the pool, so it's all pink and blue, and it was fucking very cool.
Wow.
So, our flight got delayed again. I'll get to that for people at home who are like, "What do you mean flights? You're already home."
Yeah.
Monday was weird because we did go out into the town, but this was like a month. Like I don't know if it's. I think we went late because everything closes at 7, dude. Everything opens relatively early, but closes at 7 p.m. on weeknights. The only thing that's open after 7 is restaurants. Restaurants open at 7 and run until like 2 in the morning.
Oh, okay.
So we were walking around, and it literally was like you were going through the zombie apocalypse. There was like nobody around.
Yeah.
0 stores open, and we're like, oh, this city must be like dead.
That's what it's like in Cleveland.
Right. We're like, why are there businesses here? This is not a real place. When we went back during like a busy time, that's when it was like, oh shit, yeah, there's people here. The fountains are on, like the restaurants are open. This is great. And then we ate a bunch of cheese. Tuesday was cool because we went to a supermarket, so I got to see what like just general commerce is like and how they buy their stuff. They're having the same problems that we are, where they like self-checkout is replacing workers straight up. If you go to self-checkout, it's kind of like in a barriered off section of the supermarket, and to get out you have to scan a receipt against the scanner, and then it lets you out of the self-checkout area.
I see.
It's a very strange security measure, coupled with the fact that there is also a guy just there to make sure you scan your thing correctly. It's like
So,
that's his job.
yeah. So what's the purpose of having a self checkout?
100%. So we bought a bunch of groceries, and then we took a siesta because that's the other thing they do is like at 2:00 they're just like, all right, good night. And you're like, what? And they're like, yeah, we're all gonna go to bed for like 2 hours. And you're like, what?
Oh, awesome! That's perfect.
This is so good. I'm gonna just sleep really well.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. And then that
You
evening,
did that every day?
not every day. Some days we were out all day, so we didn't have like if we were close to home or at home, then we would do it, but not every day.
Wow.
Tuesday evening or like early evening, we went. One of the things Grenoble's known for is that there's like ski resorts and stuff, and there's a cable car that runs up the mountain that's in like the center of the town. Like if you Google images Grenoble, France, it's like the first thing you're gonna get. And we got to the top of that mountain just by like driving for a little bit, and we rode. My sister and I rode the cable car down,
Cool.
which is like seems so scary at first.
Yeah, I'd be terrified.
Because it's just this fucking orb that's like, you're going to go down a mountain into a city
Oh,
from like
no.
a million miles up.
Oh
You're
no.
going to sit in this orb and the door, and like, it's not manned. So like,
Oh no.
it's just going and you just get in it and you're like, all right, I'm in it. And then the door automatically
you
closes.
like hop in, it doesn't even stop?
No, it doesn't stop. It just slows down.
That is not it, Chief.
No, it isn't though. Because you get in, you're like, oh my God, I'm so scared. And then you're
that's
just
not it.
descending. But you're going so slow that it's like, oh, I'm not scared anymore. Now I'm just on public transit. Like it literally, I was filming it, and then you could see me while I'm filming it after a couple seconds, being like, oh, people just take this to go up and down this thing. Like this is not like a roller coaster. We went up and down a lot of mountains. That's like the cool thing that we did was we saw a lot of mountains and got some good views. So some of the other ones that were much, much higher, it was definitely a lot scarier going up and down. But this one was like, oh, this is like a cool photo op, and that's it.
Okay. I'd still be scared, but
Yes, yeah.
cool.
Your first time you step in it, you're just like, I'm dead. This is it. I'm gonna just plummet. Here we go. Wednesday we overslept, so instead of our original plan of going somewhere far, we went to Annecy instead, which is basically on the border between like Italy, France, and Switzerland. I don't know if it's literally on the border, but it feels like it's on the border. Like culturally, this city, Annecy, by the way, is like a mixture of Venice, Paris, and Switzerland.
Okay.
So like we didn't go to Paris because we were in southern France, and Paris is like not in southern France. So it would have been like a 3-hour train ride, not worth the effort. Extremely touristy from what I've heard. Like it's fucking unbelievably touristy, which I get.
Paris is?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I got like culturally what I wanted out of Paris from Annecy, because we got to go to a museum for a little bit. We went to some churches. We ate.
Okay.
I had fondue for the first time because this area is known for its cheese.
Nice.
Speaking of heavy cheese, it's literally like they give you a bowl of small cubes of bread and they give you a piping hot bowl of cheese, and they're like, have fun.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've never interacted with it personally.
It's good. It's apparently like the waiter gave us a funny look because it's meant to be eaten when it's cold out, and it was like 80 degrees, and I was like, I want to try fondue, and my aunt was trying it with me, and the guy was like, are you guys good? Like, just let let me eat the food.
You know
I want
what
the
you're
hot
doing
cheese.
is super whack, right? It's
You
like
what?
not valid at all.
Yes, that's how I understood it.
Yeah, that's how he was.
That this gentleman, yeah. So I had some fondue, which was really good, and then I was like full and kind of just like walking around with a full tummy, walking around a beautiful city. Literally, like there's canals, like Venetian canals, and really beautiful art on all the walls, and I had some really cool ice cream, and then we took a boat, which was fun for a while. Here's the thing about like boat trips is they're fun until you run out of pictures to take, and then you're just on a boat. And you really have to like the sensation of being on a boat, which I do, but you know, I don't know. You're just like, okay, now I'm just waiting, like, and it's this like obsession with getting somewhere. Like it's not about getting somewhere; it's about just like enjoying the sight and enjoying the feel of like the water and stuff. But I'm just like, oh, I'm out.
After a little bit, you're like, okay, I get it.
All right, let's get back now. So I like kind of burned out at that point. And then we came home, and this was the night that we met my cousin's friends who made us pizzas. And they literally were like, but they were so polite. They were like, we brought over pizzas. We brought over supplies. We're splitting it amongst us, and then we're gonna make it in your kitchen. We'll clean your kitchen afterwards, and we're just gonna like serve you guys pizza. And they served us, dude, like 10 pizzas.
Nice.
They just kept making them.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, we got another one, and they were like, "This one's garbage. Don't eat this one. We used the leftover ingredients." Very silly boys. One of them's actually like he went to college in the UK for 3 years, so he speaks perfect English. And I got to talk to. He was the one who I mostly talked to about like what is it like being a student living in France.
Yeah.
And so that was really nice, and just like getting to talk to people who they all like had basic English understanding too. So Thursday was a pretty chill day. That was the day that I sent you the pictures of the calcium caves when we went to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the name right. Grotte des Charanches. So
Sounds
that's
right to me. Yeah.
Charanche Grotto. It's the place. It's the idea of the place that is based on the thing in that Futurama episode, the late Philip J. Fry, where Leela's in the restaurant and the like calcium deposits are dripping into stalactites. So she shoots into the ceiling, and then a bajillion years later, it says like, I love
like,
you,
I
Fry.
love you so much, or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So it is that. We got to like take a tour. We like got up the mountain because it's like on a mountain, and we go inside, and the tour guy's like super friendly, super French, and it was like they would darken most of it. You're in a cave, so it's pretty cold, and they would darken most of it and only light up certain parts because they were like, we don't want you to get overwhelmed by like 360-degree view of like a bunch of shit. So like, we'll tell you where to focus your eyes. It's just hilarious.
That's really funny.
They're like, we got this. They figured out what tourists want out of this. It's like, here's your good selfie angles. Like, go ahead, move along with us, and we'll give you more angles. Gorgeous, just stunning. And I had this really great conversation with my uncle about like, we worry so much about like, what am I like? I wasted a year of my life, or like, I worked so hard for this time and I didn't make anything out of it. And it's like,
yeah,
dude, this single like string-sized stalactite took about 6 million years to form.
Yeah. Wow.
Time is nothing.
That puts it in perspective.
Totally. It was great. I was like, oh yeah, I guess we're all really small scale actually. Which was lovely. And then so that was just like good experiences. I also got to see in person an axolotl, which was cool.
Oh, the little like fishy thing?
Yeah, because they're like, there's not a lot of them left alive. They're prehistoric, and they weren't surviving in the environment that they were in a different country. So some scientists were like, we're gonna bring them to this cave, this grotto in France, because it has the like exact temperature that they need, and we're just gonna see if we can keep them alive long enough to breed, and then we can like repopulate them.
Wow.
So they're like, there's like
so
three.
You saw like an endangered species.
Yes, and I didn't get a good picture of it,
You
but
said
it
there
totally.
Were 3?
There was like a small, like a fish tank of them.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like entirely sealed off, obviously, but you could like go up to it, and I saw them real close up. It was crazy. I was like, "Whoa!" Because
those things are freaky looking.
Yeah, well, they look like they're mudkip. That's what mudkip is based on.
Like little monsters.
Yeah,
little
they got the little
monsters.
They're long boys, though. I didn't know that they were long boys.
How long of a boy are we talking about?
Like almost like a snake sized.
Wow,
They're
that's
like
a long boy.
Yeah, they're fairly long boys.
Heck yeah.
It was like the kind of dark though, so I couldn't get a good picture of it. But they totally look like what if you look up on Google, like what an axolotl looked like. That's what they were.
Yeah.
So that was fascinating. I was just like, whoa, this thing, because it subsists on like nothing. It eats like once a week, which goals. It doesn't need light. It doesn't need other people, and doesn't need to drink anything. It's just like, but it needs to eat that one meal, and it needs like temperature to be exactly right, or it just dies.
Wow.
So they were like, yeah, it's not supposed to be here, but it's either this or it gets extinct in its natural habitat. So we're trying to keep it alive.
Yeah, we might as well try to do it here.
No reason not to. And then there was a hiking trail nearby, so we did some hiking, which was kind of fun, good exercise. And then we came home and had barbecue, which is delicious. That was like the one night that we had a lot of meat. Friday, also it's worth mentioning, all of this is like we drove a car everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They rented a car so that we could fit more people in it, but my cousins were busy, like all of them work or are students, so we didn't actually hang out with my cousins that often. But we had this rental car, and so I'm in this car for like huge chunks of the day, sleeping most of the time, but also enjoying like their highway systems and stuff and learning how that works. That will come up now because on Friday we drive a couple hours. We go to Lyon, which is a gorgeous city. I would say this one was kind of closer to New York. It's like really dense, and there's a lot of shops. But we mostly went to see like old stuff. So we like saw churches. This is my mom, my sister, and my aunt. And my mom is in pretty good shape actually, but she like has I guess I would just call it like a bum knee. Like she can't walk for long periods without having to stretch. So we eventually just had to be like, we are burning out very quickly. So we're only there for like a couple hours, but it was a really cool couple hours. That's where I had duck. That's where I bought my tourist guidebook. There's just a lot of fun shops and a lot of fun history stuff there. I didn't know until going to one of the churches there that when you see stained glass windows and they have like the circle of like different images,
Yeah.
that's a sequential story.
Okay.
I was like,
yeah,
whoa,
I guess I'd never thought about that.
Same. And I was a practicing Christian for several years. I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa, cool. Because we went to one for St. John the Baptist, and it was like, here's where he was flogged. And you're like, yeah, they're like, they like show violence in stained glass statues or stained glass windows.
Okay.
Like, yeah, they're like, this one's him being drawn and quartered. You're like, okay, that's
sure.
Why not?
All right. I'm listening.
Yeah, so just really fun times. And then we get our first sort of fun snag in the story.
Oh.
On the way back, the rental car, which was an automatic, all the other cars there are manuals, puts up a red signal or like an orange alert. And we're on the highway. And my aunt's like, okay. And she's very like, I don't know what the word in English is, but she's very like, not outgoing, but like self-independent, I guess. Like she's like able to like figure things out without having to ask anyone.
Got it, yeah.
So she was like, all right, well, we're going to. Yeah, self-reliant is a good word. She pulled over on the highway in the breakdown lane and called the people she rented it from. And they were like, oh, if it turns red, then you have to stop. But if it turns orange, like it's probably just like it might be faulty. You're fine to continue going. If it goes red, call us and we'll just send you a new car, like for no charge. It's fine. We go for a little bit longer. We stop and we learn that the orange light means that we can't accelerate past second gear anymore. So even though this car is automatic, it's still just it is shifting gears. It's just doing it automatically.
Okay.
And whatever is in the gear shifting thing won't shift past second gear, which is like 18 miles an hour. So we're on the highway and we can't go faster than 18 miles an hour.
Oh, God.
So I'm like, this is dangerous, actually. We finally like pull over somewhere else, call the place again, and she's like, hey, like can't move, can't go anywhere. And they're like, all right, where are you? And she's like, oh, we're on this rear of the highway. And they're like, oh, we can't send anybody on the highway legally because we can cause like a traffic jam if we send like our tow trucks onto the highway. Like we'll cause traffic.
Okay.
Like, okay. She's like, what do we do? She's like, they're like, you have to call the police and have them tow your car. And she's like, okay. She calls the police. Literally like 10 minutes they get there. They tell us to stand on the other side of like those gates on the highway you see where it's like the little silver like divider.
Yeah.
So we're standing like in the middle of fucking highway traffic waiting for this police tow truck to come. And it comes and it's this like friendly Mario looking ass Frenchman being like, bonjour madame. And he's like, all right, I'm going to tow your car. You guys can get in the back of my tow truck. So we just get in the back of a tow truck, like a police tow truck. And we're just chilling as he tows it off the highway. And he's like, I can't take it to the rental place.
Oh,
I can only take it off the highway and then I have to stop. So we're like, okay. We're taken immediately off the highway. We're like 10 minutes from home at this point, dude.
Yeah.
and he's like, don't drive this car anymore. We're like, okay. We call the rental place again. And they're like, I just hear my aunt like yelling and I'm like, oh, we're going to learn some French swears. This is great. They're like, yeah, so the guy who can tell you when the car is going to come will call you in about 30 minutes. And then it should take about 30 minutes to an hour for the car to come after that.
Oh, my God.
Which is like, we're 10 minutes from home. What are you saying? So she yells at them and she basically is like, you guys have 10 minutes. If you get back in 10 minutes, then you'll have hell to pay. Yeah. While we're waiting, we're like in a like fucking highway rest stop or whatever at this point. She drives the car around the parking lot and the car starts working again.
Huh.
So she's like, we're just going to go home.
Yeah.
And then
So all of that was for nothing.
yes. So she's like, yep, it fixed itself. Didn't have to do any of that. We're going home. We get home.
That's funny.
She's like, we're not taking that car anymore anywhere. So it was just like, it's like 10 o'clock and we haven't, we just went out for like 2 hours and had this whole fucking ordeal with the rental car. But it worked out.
That's good.
Winding down my last couple days. Saturday I went for a walk. I was trying to like figure out the streets on my own, so I went for a walk. I got kind of lost and I didn't have internet or service there outside of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like Wi-Fi in the home, but I didn't have like any 3G or 4G, and I didn't have cell service because I turned off roaming. So I had no way of communicating with anyone. I had to turn on roaming just to like call my mom and be like, hey, I think I'm like a little bit lost. And it turned out I was like 10 feet away from the house. I was like so close. I felt dumb. I went for a swim, and then we went grocery shopping again, and we made a big dinner. We made like a big fucking everyone get your food together, big fun dinner. Mm-hmm. Sunday, it says we rode on a boat. I don't remember what boat this was. Oh, this was like another boat. This was cool. So we went on this boat, which was like kind of fun, but it was the same thing where it's like, all right, now we just need to get to the place. It went under a bridge, and then we arrived on like an island. Mm-hmm. This is one of those parts where I'm like, I wish I knew the name of this place because it's like a famous like amusement garden almost. That's how I would describe it.
Sure.
So it's like an art installation garden. There's all these like ups and downs. There's waterfalls coming from mountains. It's fucking cool. There's like places to jump around and take cool photos, and they have like art stuff in like there's like a little fucking lake in front of you with a whole bed in it. And I was like, that's art. That's where the fish is. And then I was like, oh, sleep with the fish. I had a couple moments like that where I was like, oh, that's funny. I didn't get it. Bro. That was actually really cool. And then all like the seats there were made out of tires. It was just kind of like a cool place. And we had some nice food, and then everyone else wanted to go home, but my aunt and uncle really wanted to go to this aqueduct that was real nearby. So I actually stayed with them, and we went up an aqueduct, which is like hundreds of feet in the air.
Oh, wow. You were like on top of one of those.
Yeah. And there's like metal grates for you to walk on, but I like saw the water flowing through, and it was actually really cool. It's like, oh, yeah, you get to see it. That one's the aqueduct of. I wish I remembered the name of anything. That'd be really great if I knew any. Nazaire. Yeah, that's the one. The Nazaire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows that one.
Right.
Iconic, right?
Yes.
So we went up this aqueduct. We come back. We go home. I fall asleep again in the car. Lots of sleeping in cars. Swimming, sleeping, eating. That's like the end of every single day here. By Monday, we're basically winding down. No one really wants to like go anywhere major anymore because we've had so many day trips. Like multiple day trips in a row is honestly, even when you're not doing a lot in them, it's just exhausting because it's just a lot of driving and doing stuff. So we made French fries in France, which was hilarious. And then in the evening, in the early evening, we went up the highest mountain of any of these places, and this was wild. On this mountain, people parachute off the side. They like paraglide off the side.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
I don't.
No, you'll do. You'll do it.
I won't. No,
I'll take you. I'm taking you.
I won't do it.
Please?
Okay.
Wow. That was easy.
No.
If
you pay my way to France, I'll do it.
Okay, great. Wow. Okay, that was easy. Wow. We'll talk. To get up this one, they didn't have a cable car. Well, they did. It's a cable train. So we were like on a train nearly going like vertically up a mountain. I have like wild pictures from this one. Going up it was not that scary. It was like kind of slow again, and even though it's like a 90-year-old train, it was like totally fine. We get to the top and we just sit, and we got to sit right next to where they jump off to parachute, and it was fucking wild because there's just people. And the other thing is like you have to be cleared to jump, so they all have like mics and headsets on, and it's like you're just literally sitting there until somebody says you're clear to jump. So you can spend all this time like training and going to classes to do this, and then they're like, yeah, you're just gonna wait until the wind comes up because there has to be enough wind to carry you upwards.
Yeah.
So we got to watch one guy do a successful run, and then we got to watch one guy do an unsuccessful run, which is so scary.
No.
Yes.
What is that? What happened to him?
He was told he could go. He started running. Nearly before he reached the edge, he realized that his chute was not going to pick up enough air that he would get off the ground. So he He was fine. Before you worry, he's Well, he wasn't completely fine. He like
God.
kind of did like hitting I would describe it as like hitting the brakes with your feet kind of thing. Slid, almost like came perilously close to the edge of a mountain, and then they like had security and stuff like help him. The first thing they do is unclip your chute, because if it pulled there, he would have instantly fallen off. So they unclip his chute, and then they take him off to the side. It looked like he broke his arm, because he like was like stretchered off.
No.
But dude, all of this was handled so quietly. Like there was no yelling. Everyone was just like, all right, bad
That
run.
doesn't make me more. That doesn't make me want to go.
No, okay, you don't have to go. I mean, I probably wouldn't do it.
You're not.
Okay.
You're not taking me.
Can I
anymore.
take? Can I take you to France though?
Yeah, you can take me to France, but we're not doing that.
Okay, fair enough.
That's
I still want to jump out of a plane.
You want to what?
Jump out of a plane?
You want to what?
Yeah. Why not?
Jump out of a what?
A plane. It seems fun.
Okay.
Everyone I know who's done it says it's fun, but it's scary.
Okay.
I love that people who have done it are like, yes, it is scary. What do you think? Like you kind of want them to tell you it's not. And they're like, no, I'm not going to tell you it's not. It's very scary. You feel like you're dying, and that's the point. You should do it anyways.
Right.
I might do it again. So after a while of waiting, no one else was able to run because there just was no wind. But dude, going down the train down a mountain, very scary. Because we watched people mountain climb. There was like we're like a couple like feet away from people who are climbing this mountain. And meanwhile, we're just going down on this rickety, like, wooden train. And we're like, that guy could just move his leg to the left like an inch and fall a trillion feet.
Oh, I can't with that stuff.
I don't know if you could do any of this trip, because a lot of it was this kind of thing.
Oh, no.
So it was, going down was a little scary. We also went to the front going down, like the front of the train. So you can kind of lean over the side and be like, whoop, yep, that's vertigo, is what I'm feeling. So that was wild and thrilling. And then we did actually walk around the town that evening where there was actually people, and I discovered my new favorite store, which is called Fnac, FNAC.
Okay, what do you like about it?
It's the culture store in Europe, in France I think specifically. It's like a Best Buy meets a Barnes and Noble meets a Walmart meets an Apple store. You can buy all of your electronics, all of your video games, and then there's also a whole bookstore with books in English and like a manga section and fucking anime stuff, and they have library cards and all these deals, and it's all in one store, and it's like 2 floors. It's amazing. I ended up buying the second Discworld book because I almost finished the first one, and it's really easy to find Terry Pratchett in a bookstore in Europe. So, and I found it in English, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. So, shout out to Fnac for being extremely cool. It's just like, what if they just put all the stores in one store? This is amazing. I don't have to go to the Apple store. Just buy an iPhone like in another place. It's great. Walk around the city. It's cool. He was like, it's even busier here because this is like Grenoble's technically considered a college town. So when school is actually going on, it's like a mob of young people.
Sure.
So, other thing I noticed in this walk, people are like physically more affectionate with their lovers in Europe. It seems like.
Oh.
There's like a lot of kissing and touching.
Okay, that's something.
I asked him about it. I was like, "Is there a reason for this?" And he's like, "Yes, totally. There's a historical like precedent for this." As he described it, in World War II, a lot of men died, and then a lot of women were like, "Hey, all those men like got to choose to go off to war and like sacrifice their lives and do all this stuff. It's time for us to assert our independence." And then like the women's independent movement happened in Europe and around the world, and one of the things that they wanted was like, we want to be able to dress more comfortably and like show sleeves and leg and all that stuff, and we want to be able to like kiss in public and like kiss our mans and stuff, and like that is where that came from, was a specific cultural response to like, we don't have like our cultural freedom and we're going to assert it. And so now it's kind of become assumed like couples of all ages like hold hands, they kiss constantly, like it's not uncommon at all to just see people smooching everywhere.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then my last day was super lazy. I basically packed. I slept in and packed. We went shopping in another mall. We got home. We made food. We all got really wine drunk, which was awesome. And then I got to sleep super early because the next day I had a flight at 7 a.m. At this time, I discovered my new favorite joke of all time. The funniest thing I've never laughed this hard in my life.
Okay, I'm ready.
For dessert, my cousin made us this food, and I can send you a picture of it to kind of. Yeah, so far so good, right? You're already like dying.
That's funny.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh boy.
Take a breath. I know, it's a lot. I know. So it's bananas on. I'm gonna destroy you. I'm gonna murder you. I'm trying to get through my trip description, Magellan.
Bro, I've. Oh my god. Oh my god. Go ahead.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Caller, go ahead. Caller, turn down your radio.
Oh, you sent me a picture of this delicious dessert.
Yes. In front is figs, in the back is the food I'm telling you about. So it's bananas on top of little pieces of bread that were toasted and cooked in egg with brown sugar and cinnamon.
So it's kind of oh my god, what's that called? French toast. Is this a joke?
I was like, wait, is it French toast? Oh my god, it is French toast.
Oh,
I was
that's
drunk
just how
at this
they
point.
Do toast.
I was drunk at this point, so I laughed at that for literally 10 minutes.
That is pretty funny.
Because I was like, she was like, yeah, we fried an egg and then you like put banana on it. You put like sugar and cinnamon. And I was like, oh, it's like French. Oh my god. Oh my god.
It's extra funny to me because I just did the same.
Yes, exactly. You just got updogged by it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I felt like I just got updogged. I'm like, wait, this joke can't even be like, this doesn't make any sense to anyone here. Like, I can't.
They didn't know that that's called French toast in
America. Yeah, they're like, what do you mean? Yeah, it's just a dessert here we make. It like doesn't have a name. I'm like, oh man. And then I wasn't gonna have any story coming back, but then we had a flight nightmare that basically was like, we were supposed to come from France. Well, from Geneva, Switzerland to Montreal, and then Montreal to Boston. When we got to Montreal, which was like an 8-hour flight, it was fucking too long. It shouldn't have been that long.
Yeah.
We're there for like 2 hours. I got Tim Hortons. I got
Perfect.
Fucking. I'm like, wow, I'm in Canada. I did it. I just did Canada in the airport.
Canadian experience. Let's go to Canada.
Do that. I'm down. That's easy.
Let's do it.
We'll go to Toronto because Toronto, everyone speaks English. I mean, everyone speaks English everywhere there, but
yeah, it's Canada, bro.
Yeah, but there's places that are primarily, like when we were in Montreal, the signs were primarily in French.
Let's go there.
Okay. I've been to Montreal before when I was very young.
Great.
It's great. We'll go. It looked beautiful. I think Pride was going on because there was a lot of rainbows.
You look beautiful.
Thank you. So do you. In the pale moonlight. In the pale moonlight.
You're such a beautiful
soul
singer.
So I didn't mention this, but the guy who drove us to the airport and was to drive us home is my dad's friend, who is a chauffeur. Like, literally, he like drives not a limo, but it's like a long car, and he drives like not faint, but like Saudi princes around and stuff. He's pretty chill.
You just did two things in a row where you negated yourself, but then said the same thing.
Not celebrities, but Saudi princes, and kind of.
All right, okay, but like, yeah.
I get what you're saying.
They're rich.
Yes, rich people. He has rich people around. And he called us, and as he's calling us, I get an email that says, "Hey, before you get on your flight in like 45 minutes, it's canceled." I'm like, hello? It's an hour-long flight. Can you not cancel it? And someone had messaged me earlier being like, hey, your flight's probably going to get delayed because of weather. It's thundering in Boston right now. I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, we had a flash storm.
But my dad was like, yeah, it's fine here. And apparently it was way worse in the actual city.
It was pretty bad here.
Yeah, in New York. Yeah. So the chauffeur calls us and he's like, hey, your flight, because he has like notifications on all the flights because he drives so many people to the airport that he has to know these things. So he's like, hey, it looks like your flight got canceled. So we finally try to, the fucking staff at this airport's so incompetent, dude. Like, I'm not even going to try to like not name drop or whatever, but just like.
Drag them.
They
fixed it for you, so maybe don't.
Kind of. Well, they didn't exactly fix it for me yet. It's still in process.
Drag them.
But the staff there were just like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, okay, most likely whoever you purchased the tickets from, they rebooked you to the next available flight. So check with your airline. So I check on my email, and it's like, oh, yeah. So you're going to stay in Montreal, and then tomorrow, so this is Wednesday at like 5 p.m. at this point, right? They're like,
Yep, good so far.
cool. They're like, all right, your next flight is Thursday evening.
Okay.
We're like,
Not
that's
ideal, but
not
goes to
awesome.
Boston, right?
Yeah, that'll just take it direct to Boston. They're like, yeah. So then that will be Montreal to Ottawa, and we're like,
Oh, okay.
that's like
That's
a
that's
30-minute.
in Canada, though.
That's a 30-minute flight.
All right.
And they're like, okay, well, we'll get there, and then we'll go like directly to Boston like an hour later, right? They're like, you will then go from Ottawa to Boston on Friday morning.
Oh, okay.
Like, hello? And we're like, how did this happen?
Huh.
Why? And they're like, there are no other flights out of this. None other flights going out of the country. Canada to U.S. is not happening. My mom is like, is there a war? She literally was like, is there conflict that they can't take us to the United States anymore? I'm like, no, I think it's just the East Coast is having like a crazy storm. So I have to like make fucking customer service calls and talk to people and be on hold for 45 minutes. And I'm like, just don't charge us for the flight because we're not going to take it because my sister needs to be at work on Friday, like early Friday morning.
Okay.
So we can't.
You couldn't just stay and chill.
No. Like we could, because I have a friend from like an online friend who lives in Montreal and was like, she's like, I would love to put you guys up or meet you guys somewhere if you need that. So I'm like, all right, I have the option, but I'm not going to take it. I'm going to figure this out. So I pull up my big boy pants and I'm like, all right, where's the nearest train station? Guy's like, the nearest train station is an hour away. It's downtown. I'm like, ugh. He's like, you have to take a train or you have to take a bus to get to the bus station. I'm like, okay. How much is that bus? He's like, it's $10. I'm like, all right, here's $10. He's like, no, it's $10 Canadian. You have to use the currency exchange to get $10 times $30 Canadian to then take the bus that will take you to the bus station. I'm like, okay, this is fine. We can figure this out. Okay. We take the bus to the bus station. I'm like, all right, we just need a Greyhound. When's the nearest? Just give me the nearest Greyhound. I've worked with them. I take Greyhounds to see Magellan all the time. This is so easy. They're like, the next Greyhound is at 11:30 p.m.
Oh, God.
It's like 8.
Oh, no.
So we get to the bus station. I buy the tickets. It's like $200 because we're buying it like 3 hours ahead. I'm like, we're dead tired. We've run out of food. We've started eating each other's lunch. No, it's just we're at the bus station. Honestly, going to the bus station, so many friendly Canadians. Like this, again, stereotypes being true. Canadians so polite for no reason. Like people were like, "Oh, we'll carry your luggage to the bus station with you if you want. We'll walk you to it if you want." I'm like, "Why? Like, why are you?" My American ass is like, I'm suspicious. Why are you being suspicious? We get to the bus station and we fucking are there for like, and there was a woman in front of me who had the classic. Tell me if you've heard this at a Greyhound station before. I'm gonna miss a funeral. You guys can't tell me that my bus is delayed. I've literally heard this.
I've heard versions of that, yeah.
I've heard that story like 4 times.
Yikes, yeah.
So she's having a whole situation. I get our tickets. We chill. We almost fall asleep and miss our bus. And then we don't miss our bus. And we get on the bus. And we take a fucking 7.5-hour bus from Montreal to Boston with stops in Vermont.
God, that's hellish.
Starting at 11:30 p.m. So it's like just deep in the evening bus.
Yeah.
So and it's Greyhound, so like it's fine, but not great. They could make it better. Our driver was super friendly. He's like, I know you guys are all tired of shit, and most of you are here because of a canceled flight. We're gonna get you to Boston. Like, thanks, homie. And there's enough room that we can all like stretch out and sleep because it's not a very packed one.
Nice.
So I like broke my time schedule. We're recording the day I got back right now, and I like got here at 8 in the morning, and I was like, do I start a day now? So that was my whirlwind trip to France.
That's great.
Yeah. Started out super great, hit some high highs, and then ended on a weird note. But overall, I had an amazing time. I would do it again in a heartbeat. There's a lot more of just that country I want to see, and it definitely inspired me to just like go out there more and travel more because I liked it a lot. It's just different. It's like nice to remember that there are places that do things fundamentally different than we do, and that's fine. Yeah,
and it makes you sort of interrogate, like, what does your society do, and do you like the way it does things or not?
Totally.
Yeah.
That was like the crux of all those conversations. So Damn, I went long. Oops, should we cut half of this episode out? Should probably,
Heck no.
What part should we cut? Oh, no? Okay.
We should cut nothing.
Even this?
Whoa, too much to cut now.
No, we gotta cut. So, if you're from Europe, sound off in the comments. Yeah, tell me where else Magellan. Send Magellan and I somewhere far. We want to travel more. With your Patreon money, you can make this happen. Eventually, in theory.
Can you imagine?
I have another trip in the end of September, but it's like 4 days in New Hampshire.
Oh, big trip, boy.
Yeah, I'm trying. I need to like not take that many trips anymore. But then I have that like 4 days in New Hampshire, where I'm actually gonna meet that Canadian friend in person, and then in October I'm seeing you for a weekend.
Oh, big trip, boy.
I think that's it. And then I'm never going anywhere else for the rest of the year.
Big trip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for indulging me as I give you my
Thanks for telling us about your trip.
my sloppily
Big trip,
composed
boy.
travel log. Yeah. I think favorite part probably honestly was my favorite city to visit, just because it felt like such a cool cultural mishmash and it was like really gorgeous. But yeah, it was just really like mind opening and relaxing, and that was
nice.
the best thing about it. It was a good place to kind of get out of my comfort zone. Yeah, get out of your comfort zone. Eat a burger. I kind of missed the burgers. Halfway through, I was like, I kind of want a burger. This sucks. And then again, I was speaking of interrogating. I was like, why do I want a big hunk of fucking animal meat? Like, why do I crave that? Am I just a carnivore at heart? Is that what this is?
You've just been conditioned that that's something you should have.
Totally. That's what it is. Quinoa. Quinoa was in the baguette. It was quinoa.
Quinoa.
Oh my god, little pellets.
Thank God
Trendy
we hit that
food.
before
South
we
America.
ran out of time.
I can't believe I got it as I was going to hit stop. Cool. Thanks, guys, for listening to ChatzNightz. Have a good night.
Bye.